And I think we're reaching a point where that's what we have to say to the central government. You leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. We don't want any problems. We don't want a civil war. We don't want to be involved in anything, any conflict. We want to live peaceful, quiet lives. I'm not going to be involved in anything offensively. But defensively, if you come after us and our families and our kids and our liberty and our freedoms and our assets because we're Christians and we're conservatives or we're, quote, domestic terrorists, well, then I have a God-given and constitutional right to be involved in defense. True or false?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. This is a biblical, it's a divine right delegated to us by God. It's more than a right. It's a duty. And for thousands of years of church history, this has been clearly understood. Now, I think the preferable thing is to have our lesser magistrates intervene and offer leadership in this resistance. And so under the doctrine of the lesser magistrates, this is a very well-established Christian doctrine that's been in the church for centuries. Lesser magistrates have not just a right to resist the higher magistrate when that higher magistrate is operating outside the bounds of what they're allowed to do. They have a duty to do that. And our history is filled with examples like this. I often cite Oliver Cromwell. This is a man who's almost completely been airbrushed out of history. But during the English Civil War in the 1640s, King Charles was behaving as a tyrant. He was acting illegitimately. He was usurping authority that did not belong to him. He was claiming, in the words of the time in Latin, rex lex. In other words, the king is the law. No, that's not how this works, right? Romans 13, all authority comes from God. That means your authority as a parent comes from God. That means your authority as a king comes from God. You are not the law. You get to enforce the law. And when you think you're the law, like King Charles did, he wanted to dissolve Parliament. He wanted to trample on the God-given liberties of the people. The Christian leaders of that country said, no, we're not going to tolerate that. So under the leadership of Oliver Cromwell, the Puritan forces, the parliamentary forces, the Christians of that nation joined together, and a civil war was fought. They tried the king for treason. He was found guilty, and he lost his head. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody needs to lose their head at this moment, but we need to know our history. Right now, the U.S. Constitution is still the supreme law of the land. Every governor in this country, at least every governor with a brain and a backbone, needs to say, look, we've had enough of this. We are not your slaves. We are not your servants. We are not your serfs. We are not administrators for the federal government. We are elected by the people of our state. We have sworn to uphold the Constitution both of the United States and of our state, and that's what we intend to do. And if you want to operate outside of that, you're going to have to do it someplace else because it's not going to be tolerated in this state.